Support for this One Time in Kankakee comes from the Kankakee Area YMCA. The Kankakee Area YMCA is more than just a gym. It's a movement of thousands of people making positive changes in their lives and their community. The YMCA is Kankakee's premier provider of family health and wellness. Become a Y member today at their location on Kennedy Drive in Kankakee or at k3ymca.org. For youth development, for healthy living, for social responsibility. The Kankakee Area YMCA. Support for this One Time in Kankakee comes from Raven Spring Media, where method, media, and mindfulness create impact. From video production, photography, animation, and team building, Raven Spring Media creates compelling content that captures your brand's unique story in a strategic way. With over 20 years of visual storytelling experience, Raven Spring Media brings together creative expertise and a fresh perspective to every project they undertake. Begin your story today at ravenspringmedia.com.
This one time in Kankakee, I survived a tornado, but my house did not.
Welcome to This One Time in Kankakee from the WVLI Podcast Network. I'm Jake LaMore. Every town has its landmarks, the places everyone knows, the backdrops to our shared history. And to Emily LaVoie, that landmark was her home, a house built on the banks of the Kankakee River. But on March 10th, 2026, the landscape of Emily's life changed in a matter of 2 minutes. Today, we sit with Emily to talk about what it means to love a place, what it takes to survive the unthinkable, and the long, bureaucratic road to putting the pieces back together. To understand what was lost on March 10th, you have to understand what was built. Emily is Kankakee through and through. She grew up here, right on the Kankakee River. She attended Kankakee High School, went off to college at Illinois State University, where she was a competitive collegiate athlete on the diving team, and then spent about 10 years living out west. But the river always calls its people back. Eventually, she made her way home, settled back on the Kankakee River, and started a small business. In 2017, she and her husband found the place they wanted to anchor their lives.
Actually, my husband and I bought a boat, and we were storing our boat at my husband's aunt and uncle's home on the river, and there was a home that we would drive past every time we were going to their house to get on our boat, and we knew that this house we kept driving past was eventually going to be for sale because it was a foreclosure, so we just kept our eye on it. And then actually on the 4th of July in 2017, there was a for sale sign, and we put in an offer, and a few days later we found out that it was approved.
The property was prime riverfront, situated right above the dam on the boatable side of the river. The goal was simple: move the boat from the aunt and uncle's backyard straight into their own. But the house itself? It was a time capsule.
The house had been abandoned for, I want to say, several years, so it needed quite a bit of work. I remember a lot of wood paneling, and the house would have been move-in ready if it was 1960. Hadn't been updated since 1960. Like, one of the bathrooms was that pink shade that I'm sure everybody can visualize, and the other bathroom was that teal shade that I'm sure everybody can also visualize if you spent any time in homes from that era. I was told that it was the original Clancy home of like Clancy Gernon Funerals.
They gutted it. They remodeled it. They made it their own, nestled inside a neighborhood known as Oakwoods. It's a tight-knit community of about 35 to 40 homes, mostly single-family ranches built in the 60s and 70s. Emily knew almost everyone, 25 to 30 of the families, from growing up in the area, from high school, and from work. But the defining feature of Oakwoods wasn't the structures, it was the trees.
The neighborhood is called Oakwoods, so it makes sense that it's full of towering oak trees that you almost drive under a canopy of oak trees as you're pulling into the neighborhood. Wasn't the most fun around fall when it came time for raking leaves, but we are allowed to burn in our neighborhood, so there is the round-the-clock, 24 hours a day, constant smell of burning leaves during the fall. And then sometimes, during the fall, before the leaves start to fall, the acorns fall, and it's just sometimes you hear one of those or several of those hit your roof. And if I had to guess, I would say a lot of the oak trees were 3 stories high and probably between 200 and 300-year-old trees that you can't even begin to fit your arms around. It might take 2 or 3 people interlocking hands in order to fit to hug the tree.
For most people, the destruction of a home is a once-in-a-lifetime tragedy. But for Emily and her husband, the storm of 2026 wasn't the first time they had to watch their home crumble. To understand how they reacted when the sirens went off in March, you have to go back to the summer of 2019 or perhaps 2020, the year before they were married. Kankakee was hit by a severe microburst, a derecho.
So everybody's trees fell not on their own houses. Everybody's trees fell on neighbors' houses, kind of like dominoes. So 4 of my neighbors' trees all fell on top of one another on my house. Kind of on, ironically, the same exact part of my house that was taken out by the tornado. So that is the sunroom, the bonus room or the man cave, and the garage.
Those massive ancient oak trees came crashing through the roof, tearing through the drywall and into the living spaces. A torrential rain followed. The structural force was so intense that the home's entire brick wall was physically moved.
So the trees were they were in the house, through the roof, through the drywall. We had to get all new roof, all new gutters, flashing, HVAC, electric. We had to get new floors, some new furniture because there was so much water damage because it was raining and there's holes in your roof, you're going to get water damage. I think we ended up getting several new windows, but the brick wall completely moved. And then, so I didn't know that this was even possible, but the contractors were able to move the brick wall back to its original spot. Yeah, so that was the second time that we remodeled that house since purchasing it.
They were left without power for close to 2 weeks. The craters from those fallen trees still scar their backyard today. But that first disaster gave them a grim advantage. When you've already been through a catastrophic insurance claim, you know exactly how the machinery works. You know the fine print of your policy. You know, for instance, that you have exactly $120,000 allocated for temporary rent. And you know when the sky opens up, time is your greatest enemy.
I do feel like we kind of had an upper hand or a slight edge on everybody else because we've dealt with similar insurance claims, and we kind of knew our insurance policy very well because of the microburst. So we knew that we had $120,000 that the insurance company would put towards covering rent. And we knew, you have to get on these things quick. We called that night to start our claim. We started looking for a place to live immediately. We kind of knew how to just get to work and start salvaging things, because things can only, have sun exposure. And in the tornado, it was like rain, severe wind, thunder and lightning, snow. So like if you're going to try to salvage stuff, you have to get going and get it from getting wet, and the things that did get wet, get them to start drying out. And I immediately started telling people, like, save every box. I need boxes. I need bins. Like, I need human bodies helping.
Which brings us to March 10th, 2026. For days, the meteorological buzz had been building. The forecasts were warning of severe weather headed toward Kankakee County. But Emily, remembering the microburst where she had been away at an Aldi in Bradley, escaped the worst of it, felt a familiar skepticism.
Honestly, at that point in my life, I kind of felt like, oh goodness, people are always making such a big fuss about weather and, building it up to be this huge thing. And it's kind of like the boy who cried wolf, like nothing ever comes of it. And, like school's always getting canceled because we're supposed to have this horrible snowstorm. And then we get like, half an inch or whatever. So, I was not taking it very seriously at all.
That morning, the weather was strangely, unseasonably warm. Emily had a doctor's appointment scheduled for that afternoon. Around 11 a.m., the clinic called her, asking her to reschedule. The other patients had already canceled due to the incoming weather, and Emily got the sense the staff just wanted to close up early and go home. She agreed to reschedule. Because of the warmth, she briefly considered going outside to do some yard work, picking up sticks and clearing out old flower pots from the previous year. Ultimately, she decided against it. She stayed inside, conducting client meetings over Zoom. As the afternoon progressed, she decided it was best to just stay home in case the storms turned violent. Her husband, who worked the midnight shift, was asleep in the house.
At the time, he was working midnight, so he kind of sleeps all morning and then wakes up usually he wakes up when he's on midnights around like 2 or 3, but he didn't go to sleep right when he got home. I can't remember what he was doing, maybe laundry or whatever. So he stayed up a little bit later. So he was actually kind of sleeping as some of the weather started to turn and some of the bad weather was just beginning to roll in.
Outside, the sky began to curdle, turning a deep, unnatural dark. The tornado sirens in the area went off briefly, but then went silent. Emily was sitting in her sunroom, checking her phone. She was active in a family group text chain with her mother, her dad, her brother, and his girlfriend. A few miles down the river, closer to Bradley, below the dam, her mother texted the chat in a panic. The hail was massive. The wind was roaring, and the windows were shattering at her parents' house. But at Emily's house, above the dam,
I'm just out in the sunroom at this point, and I even put in the group chat, my parents live maybe a few miles down the river from me, but they live below the dam. So in Kankakee, but much closer to Bradley. I'm like, it's nothing here. It's not even windy. It's not even raining. It's very calm. So very surprising that that's going on at their house and there's absolutely nothing happening at my house.
Then a text came in from a friend. It contained a link to a YouTube live stream of a storm chaser. Emily clicked it. The storm chaser was live at the Kankakee Walmart, just a short distance across the river.
And I clicked on the link and I was like, oh my goodness, they are at the Kankakee Walmart. So I'm looking out the window and still kind of like, you're being so ridiculous that you think you're going to see a tornado. And then I'm looking up in the sky and I couldn't really see a tornado at this point, but I did start seeing enormous sheets of metal flying around in circles, way, way up in the air on the other side of the river. And then I was like, oh, that's a tornado. Wow, it's massive.
The text that woke her husband wasn't from Emily. It was from a friend sending him the same storm chaser link. He ran into the sunroom just as Emily was processing what she was looking at through the glass.
He came out into the sunroom and, he had his phone, I had my phone, we're both watching our phones, and then I was like kind of almost speechless, just pointing, like words wouldn't formulate, and then I finally was like, that's the tornado, like the metal flying around in the sky, but it was almost too big to even be able to tell it was a tornado. And then about the time that I was able to formulate the words, the hail started crossing the river, which just looked like softballs or fish jumping, like huge splashes of water, kind of just beginning to cross the river. And I think that was about the time my husband said, "We are going downstairs right now."
Emily grabbed her phone charger and a battery backup. Her husband told her to grab her car keys, but she left them. They were in the car, inside the garage, and she figured they were fine. Her husband grabbed his phone and an iPad so they would have multiple channels of communication. And luckily, Emily still had her shoes and socks on from earlier in the day. They ran down into the basement. The layout of their basement featured a massive brick fireplace structure that ran completely down to the floor, and a laundry room with a west-facing window positioned right above the washer and dryer.
So I was kind of trying to peek out the window, and all you could see is stuff just flying by, like 160 miles an hour, just things, and a lot of dust, so you couldn't really see very far into the distance because there's so much dust flying around, but you could see things just whipping past the window. And then my husband Dave, he said, like, "Get away from the window, get back here." So we were kind of hunkered down, crouched into little balls behind the fireplace, kind of right in the middle, away from the windows.
They were in the basement for only about 30 seconds before the storm was directly on top of them. Emily managed to send one final text to her family group chat. It simply read, "It's here." She thought about text messaging them that she loved them, but she didn't want to cause panic or seem dramatic. And then, the sound.
It sounded like a vortex, and the only way I could explain it is it sounded like wah, 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 like if you were actually in a vacuum and the dust is just spinning around, you can hear vortex sound. My ears were probably popping several times a second, so I think the tornado may have lasted like a total of 2 minutes where like I knew it was on us, on our house. So the vortex sound and then just constant ear popping. But it wasn't painful. It was popping. I didn't have to, pinch my nose and blow. It was just taking care of itself. And then at one point I heard like a glass break, the sound of glass breaking. And I'm like, okay, like my mom said her windows were breaking, probably some hail broke a window, and then I heard something fall. So like, okay, hail broke a window, I heard glass break, and maybe now I'm hearing hail coming in the broken window or something blew over because the window was broken. But yeah, one glass break and one thing fall is all I heard besides vortex sound and ears popping.
2 minutes. That's all it took. When the vacuum sound subsided, Emily's husband looked at her and said, "I think it's over." Her phone rang immediately. It was her neighbor from 4 doors down asking if they were okay and confirming that the vortex had passed. They stood up and began walking up the basement stairs. As they reached the top, they heard frantic banging on what was left of their front door. A neighbor was screaming that their gas line was severed and pouring fuel into the air.
In my head was thinking like, yeah, we made it. Like our house is so strong. We're good. Because it's just one broken glass and one thing that fell over. And then my husband, goes up the steps ahead of me, opens the door, and I could just easily see like it's sky. There's no ceiling. There's no roof. You can just see what's left of the trees, which is basically just tree trunks. And then the furniture was completely in different spots, like on the opposite side of the room. The couch was upside down. The big like dresser, what are those things called? Buffets. That was like almost spun around, like facing, the doors were not facing, those like, I was seeing the back of it. The patio chairs that were outside were like stuck in the walls, like hanging out of the wall. I can show you a picture. It's like, oh my goodness, this chair is just hanging out of this wall.
The destruction was absolute. The winds had completely ripped away the roof and the ceiling, exposing the entire main floor to the torrential rain and subsequent snow. The attic insulation had been pulverized by the vortex, and mixed with the downpour, it acted like a wet paste, completely caking every wall, piece of furniture, and personal items in the house. The outdoor couches, a massive gas fire pit, and a large glass table were entirely gone, like swept directly into the Kankakee River. Amidst the shock, the immediate priority was the gas leak.
The tools were all gone. The toolbox, which I have no idea how many hundreds, it's one of those ones that's like taller than me, that was gone. So like figuring out where there might be more tools. So I think he went back to the basement to get some tools to turn the gas off. Some people's house, now I know this, when their gas is leaking, their house beeps, like an alarm going off, and ours wasn't doing that, but you could really smell just gas pouring out. The other thing, I just remembered this, when we were in the basement and like we knew the tornado was here, the power went out, but then we have a whole house generator, so that did kick on, but it only kicked on for like a handful of seconds. And I remember thinking to myself, like, we spent $10,000 on that piece of crap and it's supposed to work, and now we have a storm and it turned off. Like, you know, what a piece of junk. And then I didn't know this, but then my husband told me that he knew when the generator kicked on and kicked off again that was really bad. Like, oh, this is like the gas line is severed. This is a bad. And I had no idea. I was just like, that piece of junk, it's not even working.
Another neighbor called. Emily's husband's friend, Zach Kerwick, was on the line. He told them another storm system was trailing the first, and that breathing in the pulverized insulation debris was dangerous. Zach drove toward the neighborhood, navigating around the fallen trees by cutting through 10 different neighbors' lawns, eventually parking blocks away on Waldron Road and walking the rest of the way to Emily's house. Emily packed frantically.
Got one of those huge, like, Rubbermaid bins and just started, like, throwing, like, an emergency packing for a trip, like throwing bathroom type things. And I think I grabbed pajamas, and I have a hard time finding jeans because I'm short. So I just picked up my entire stack of jeans. Like, okay, I'm taking all these jeans because they're hard for me to replace. And I'm like, Dave, we can't leave. We gotta fix this. We can't just leave it like this. Like, and I don't know that, what is today, like July 17th or whatever today is, yeah, July, okay, so July 14th, like that was March 10th, and I thought we were going to be out, like, we can't leave our house, like, people can just come in, there's no wall, we can't just leave it like this, and come on, we gotta get going fixing this. And I know, like, fast forward, several months to today, like, still nothing has been done. Like, it's exactly, if not was much worse than it was, just because of weather. Yeah, but it's funny that I thought we were gonna fix it.
They walked away from the house, climbing over multiple-ton tree trunks and tangles of live power lines. As they made their way down the street, they witnessed a neighborhood in absolute trauma. One next-door neighbor was standing barefoot in the middle of the debris-strewn street, eyes wide, completely unable to speak. Emily escorted her to another neighbor for safety, only learning days later that the woman had received news just that morning that her husband's cancer was terminal, right before the tornado claimed their home. As they walked out, a massive tractor was already forcing its way down the road, shoving trees and utility poles aside to clear a path for emergency vehicles. That night, Zach took Emily and her husband to his in-laws' home in Bourbonnais, a property whose owners lived full-time in Arizona. They were provided with shelter, pizza, and wine. Emily didn't sleep a wink. Her body shivered violently from the adrenaline and shock, despite the room being warm. The next morning, the long, grueling process of recovery began. The immediate response from the community was overwhelming. Friends established a donation center at a home, collecting Amazon shipments of plastic bins. Cardboard boxes wouldn't work, the ground was soaked, and the bottoms would dissolve. Volunteers descended on the house with flashlights and headlamps, helping them pack up their belongings in the pitch-black basement. But once the immediate debris was cleared, the real battle began. The battle of paperwork. We are talking in July 2026, 4 months after the storm, and Emily's home is still a landscape of moldy drywall and exposed frame.
The insurance adjuster came the next day, and they're not really allowed to say too much. I don't think they make the decisions until they start crunching numbers. Lovely people, and we have received all of the money from our insurance company. So you get money for the dwelling, like the actual structure of your home. Our home was considered a total loss by our insurance company. And then you get another check for exterior property. So for us, that was like all of our patio furniture, tons of flower pots, our generator, air conditioner, our boat dock ramp. And then you get another amount of money for personal property, which is like interior property, the things in your home. So we have gotten all of that. My car was totaled, so I got money for my car. That was a whole kind of nightmare because everybody needed new cars, and they really weren't giving me much time from the point I found out my car was going to be totaled till the tow truck was going to come and pick up my car. There were no rental cars available. So I ended up I didn't have time to go out of town and buy a car, but I had to do it. My husband's car was not totaled, but he did get some money to put towards repairing the damage to his truck. And then we're still waiting on money from our boat was being stored at the marina, which was also damaged. A garage door fell on our boat. So that's the last bit of money we're still waiting on, but not our insurance company, the marina's insurance company.
But receiving the insurance payout is only half the battle. Because the home sat on a riverfront property in a designated floodplain, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, or FEMA, rules dictate the terms of the rebuild. The rule is concrete. If the cost to repair a home exceeds 50% of its market value, the entire structure must be brought up to current floodplain codes. For Emily, that means substantial changes.
We might be the only house that was total loss, that's also in a floodplain, that also had a full basement. I think all the other houses that were total loss were either not in the floodplain or did not have a full basement. And the houses that were total loss, I think if they were in the floodplain, they were on a slab or they just had a crawl space. So that's really complicated with FEMA. They want us to come up to current floodplain code. Not only no basement, everything in our house would have to come up 4 feet. So everything is 4 feet taller, 4 feet higher than it currently was before the tornado. So we got paid out from our insurance company to replace the same exact home, not a home that is 4 feet higher. So the walls would have to be 4 feet taller, and building supplies are, bricks are incredibly expensive. So because my husband has a background in building, and he was, came from a family of contractors, he kind of knew immediately we are not going to be able to rebuild the same size all brick home. It will either not be all brick, like the front of the house could be brick, or like, halfway up could be brick, or the house is going to have to be much smaller.
To make matters more complicated, they had to hire an appraiser to determine the value of the home. By evaluating a home that's been reduced to a pile of rubble introduces unique hurdles.
You're paying an appraiser to come out and look at a home that's in ruins and just a bunch of rubble, and they have to put a price to this home, and they can't even see what it looked like. Like, they have no idea what this room used to look like, or what that room used to look like, or that this, had a really expensive sliding glass door because it's gone. The room is gone. So we weren't really happy with the appraisal price, because we need that price to be high, because we want to have an all brick home with a basement. Our basement is a full basement. It's never had water in it. It's never leaked, even though it is in a floodplain. And it's like 1,800 square feet, so we don't want to lose that space. And our architect said, I've never seen a basement this nice on the river. You guys gotta save this. So basically, we're fighting a numbers war on paper.
Their architect, Jeff Jarvis, has drawn up the preliminary blueprints for what they call Plan A, a design that preserves the full basement. But Plan A requires structural variances and approvals that are tied up in local and federal bureaucracy. If Plan A is rejected, they go back to the drawing board for Plan B or Plan C. In the meantime, the remaining walls are structurally unstable, blowing over with the summer winds. And the neighborhood remains quiet. As Emily looks out over the neighborhood 4 months later, the physical loss is obvious. But the human toll is what truly weighs on the community. Among the debris and the property damage was a tragic loss of life right across the street.
Across the street, Maurice didn't make it through the tornado, which was, try not to get emotional. He was if you could have handpicked a neighbor, I don't think I could have done better at handpicking him. He watched out for the whole neighborhood, friendly, but not overly friendly. You know what I mean? He wasn't talking your ear off. He'd wave, he'd smile, you'd have short, brief conversations. We'd always let him know, we're going to be on vacation, please, watch out for our house, keep an eye on things. He would let us know when he was going to be gone. If he saw, a weird car in the neighborhood, he would kind of ask, did you guys see that car? Do you know whose car that was? Are they supposed to be here? He was kind of the eye of the neighborhood, keeping an eye on everybody's safety. And from what I've heard, I don't think he suffered at all. I think it was quick. My heart breaks because he was amazing. He was a great human.
Holding on to that grief while trying to rebuild has forced everyone in Oakwoods to re-examine what truly matters. Experiencing the total loss of your material life changes how you look at the world.
I tell myself all the time, this is just going to be a weird summer. I love summer, so this summer is definitely much different than most summers, and I just find myself reminding myself this is temporary. Life will get back to normal at some point. I definitely feel my priorities have kind of shifted, and sometimes I kind of find myself thinking almost I don't need any of this stuff. I thought I needed these things to be happy. I thought I needed Amazon packages arriving on the porch weekly, if not daily. And I don't need new outfits. I don't need, I want to minimize. I want to be more of a minimalist, because when you get in these emergency situations, where all of the stuff that you've worked your whole life to acquire becomes a burden. I wish I didn't have this stuff. What am I supposed to do with this stuff? This stuff is destroyed. It's kind of quote unquote a waste of money when you think about it. I am grateful to be alive. I am grateful for just the absolute outpouring of our community coming together, not just our neighborhood, but all of Kankakee County. This restored my faith that people still have empathy. They can put themselves in your shoes and imagine how horrible it would be if they lost their home, and they would do anything to help. The outpouring of love and support that's been the most emotional part of just the gratitude, and makes me feel like, wow, I need to do better at helping people all the time, especially in, kind of chaotic situations, and maybe open my wallet a little bit more and help people out and let you know that you love them and you're there for them.
Emily and her surviving neighbors are safe. But the footprint of March 10th remains visible every single day in Oakwoods. Rebuilding a community from scratch isn't a matter of weeks, it's a matter of years. And while the initial emergency response has passed, the work of rebuilding lives, families, and homes is still in its earliest phases. If you want to help families like Emily's, who are navigating the long, difficult road of physical and financial reconstruction, donations are still critically needed. You can contribute directly to the United Way of Kankakee and Iroquois County's Emergency Response Fund. Every dollar goes directly towards supporting local residents as they try to establish a new normal. To give, visit myunitedway.org. This One Time in Kankakee is a production of the WVLI Podcast Network. I'm Jake LaMore. Thank you for listening, and we'll talk to you next time. Support for This One Time in Kankakee comes from LaMore Realty, located in downtown Manteno. Amazing real estate brokerage proudly serving Kankakee County and the surrounding areas. Visit LamoreRealty.com and follow them on Facebook and Instagram at LaMore Realty. Listen to all of today's local news in one place.
Checking your WVLI news, I'm Rob West.
The WVLI News Update brings you the day's news in 10 minutes or less. Clear, credible, and on your schedule. Follow now wherever you get your podcasts or at WVLI927.com and click on air. It's all part of the new WVLI Podcast Network. The voices you trust beyond the dial.